Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
This is the Black Gold Banneret Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff Sharon and Eric Lopez.
And we welcome you to this edition of Black Gold Banneret Podcast. I'm Eric Lopez. Jeff Sharon's still on vacation in Hawaii, enjoying himself out there. The rest of the staff, I've given him also the week off. Enjoy some downtime before you know it. Eric Lopez here. Coming up, though, on this show, we got a packed show. You're going to hear my exclusive interview with Gianna Mancha, UCF former softball pitcher who's now playing in the pros in the WPF with the Smash It Sports Vipers. We'll talk about that. And playing in the WPF, the Pro Fast Pitch, first season for them. And she'll reflect on the UCF season and her time at UCF. Later in the show, you'll hear Bryson Turner's exclusive interview with Dana Boone, UCF track and field head coach. They're out in Eugene, Oregon as we speak, at the NCAA championships in Oregon. We'll break that down later in the show. Of course, we'll be that and much more. You'll talk about other good stuff here on this edition of the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. You can follow us at UCF Banneret_SBN. Go to blackandgoldbanneret.com for the latest, including our articles there on Mackenzie Milton's retirement by Andrew Glukoff and Kyle Nash. Both worked on that together in their perspective opinions on the Mackenzie Milton retiring from football. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Black and Gold Banneret as well. All right, let's bring in. We're going to open the show here with some news and notes here quickly. Here, couple of big football news this week. On Thursday, Terrance Lewis, you can remember the linebacker, came over on the transfer, had a domestic battery charge against him. He didn't know what it was good. Charges dropped against Terrance Lewis. That's big news there for UCF. Now, we don't know what that means for him as far as discipline or what UCF will do about it. But remember, you guys obviously have listened, you've been following UCF football. One of the big issues right now for them is the linebacking depth there. They have really issues there at the linebacking position. And, if this clears Lewis up here to play, that could help him a little bit for UCF. So some good news potentially for UCF football there. Plus, earlier this week, Javon Baker announced via Instagram, because, hey, that's where you go when you want to announce news, announced the wide receivers that transferring to UCF. Now, he originally had committed to Kentucky, played at Alabama. Now, what is a little unclear is his status as far as eligibility. We don't know if he committed to Kentucky, but we don't know if he was on campus. We don't know what happened there. That will be cleared up, but if they get Javon Baker eligible and ready to go for this upcoming season, that'll add some depth to the wide receiving position for UCF there with Ryan O'Keefe and company there. And obviously there's some losses there. Jalen Robinson moving on among them, Brandon Johnson. So potentially some good news for UCF football depth-wise here this week with the Terrance Lewis news and the Javon Baker news to it. So that's something to monitor. But a couple of quick notes there for UCF football from that standpoint that could pay off later on this season here, perhaps in 2022 in the fall. Is before you know it, we're about we'll be a couple months away from practices and get ready for that season opener. So still some lingering questions there with UCF and their football roster. But again, Javon Baker transfer to UCF wide receiver could add some depth to the core. And then obviously Terrance Lewis situation, now that it's legally been cleared, that could be potentially something that could help him move forward down the stretch here and be a part of UCF football here in 2022. Obviously, that still remains to be seen on that. So that's going to be an interesting deal there. All right. Other news of note for UCF, of interest here, and really the Baker news. I want to ask, it was interesting to follow the Baker news. As soon as that came out, a lot of UCF fans excited and optimistic. Another SEC player, by the way, coming to UCF. I think the Gus Malzahn factor is big on that, but it is interesting how fans, we still are kind of trying to figure out this whole transfer portal. We're excited when a player transfers to us and our respective team. But when our player decides to leave us and go somewhere else, we kind of try to bury them and try to say, how could you? And to some extent, pro sports goes through this with free agents. But it was interesting. Last Thursday, on our friend's show, Sons of UCF Live, hosted by Trace Trocco and Adam Eaton and Mike over there, they had Maddie Bejarano on, UCF softball player. And she announced on that show that she's transferring from UCF. Everybody knows the story by now. Her brother has Down syndrome. And people were kind of, and I was going to the message boards throughout, and UCF to try to see kind of the reaction there. And it was because there's been a lot of softball talk with obviously the success and the momentum and everything. And I was kind of like perplexed by some of the negative, not by all, but there's this percentage of people that were negative about her move. Now, it's worth pointing out, and I encourage people to check out that episode. It's last Thursday. You can follow it if you're, however you listen to your son's UCF podcast. I listen to him on the YouTube deal. She explained herself during the interviews because she wants to be closer to family. She's a West Coast girl from Arizona. Obviously wants to get close family. Brother got to see her play in Oklahoma. She had nothing but great things to say about UCF and head coach Cindy Ball-Malone and everything like that. And even Sons of UCF, who obviously, remember, they were a big part of this story because they helped her brother get to Oklahoma, sponsoring, kind of giving an NIL deal with her. They were cool with it. They understood it. It was great. It was fine. And yet I still see people kind of negative. And, it's not just her. I mean, it wasn't a lot. So let me just emphasize that. But I think we got to stop reacting negative like all the time. Like, how could this player leave? Or how could this go, And I just think we just have to accept that in college athletics today, with the transfer portal, you're going to have people that leave. You're going to have people that come here. You're going to have pluses and minuses. And you may, that's just the way it is. And it doesn't mean that the program's in trouble. Doesn't mean it was a negative. It doesn't mean that the player didn't care about their program. We saw a little bit of this with the women's basketball program when everybody departed for Georgia and some of the negativity. Diamond Battles went to Twitter and said how, people were going after her. It's like, why? Why? Like, she has the right to move on. She did everything she could and accomplished here at UCF. She has her degree. She's going to move forward. Why negativity? Like, she spent all her time here, helped bring a conference championship and 2 NCAA tournament appearances to the women's basketball program. So to me, it's like, why? Why the negativity there? I just think we need to, fans have to, we got to get over this stuff. We got to get used to it. Will they? I don't know. Maybe I'm being unrealistic in this, but in my opinion, I think you got to move on, man. These are human beings at the end of the day. Nobody's going after you when you leave a job because it pays more or whatever the reason to be closer to family. Nobody's going after you. He's like, Joe Schmo left after 5 years. How disloyal. Try to be closer to family. I don't understand that mindset. I get it. You don't want to lose players. It stinks. I'm going to miss Maddie Bejarano, but I get it. I mean, I wasn't surprised by the news when she announced that on the Sons of UCF live show there. I don't really understand that. So, like I said, we just got to get over that stuff, man. Get over that negativity stuff. Like, people have the right to move on or not. You may or may not like it, but just kind of, appreciate what they do, man. It's a new era in college athletics. I'm just telling you, I don't see it changing anytime soon. So that was my kind of 2 cents on that. I watched the Maddie Bejarano interview last week, and then seeing the reaction to Javon Baker announcing on Instagram that he's coming to UCF and all the excitement about it. It's kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, it's a little unbalanced on that, and I just don't understand it. Feel free to explain it to me if you think I'm way off base. Tweet at me at UCF Banneret _SBN. And but I just that was the one thing that kind of stood out to me about that situation. I just didn't really understand that. So those are some of the big news items there. Now, speaking of softball, got some other quick some news on the softball front. So UCF softball 2023 was announced that they will be going back to the ESPN tournament, the Clearwater Invitational, which was it's the marquee tournament in the sport. They were there last year. UCF went 2-4 in that tournament. Remember, they beat Texas in that wild game. They beat Texas Tech as well. Played a strong schedule, and that helped UCF have the 16th strongest non-conference schedule in the country, and in part helped them eventually get in a position to host as a national seed. So that was big. They will be joining a field of 16 teams that includes Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Duke, Florida State, Indiana, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns and the Sun Belt. It's a powerhouse in softball. Michigan, Mississippi State, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, South Florida, Texas A&M, UCLA, and Virginia Tech. That's a wow. 15 of those 16 teams made the NCAA tournament. The only team that didn't was Indiana. That is powerhouse. Powerhouse. We do not know who UCF will play in that tournament yet. We won't know that until the fall. But this is big for the UCF softball program and kind of, expanding that schedule strength. And another, that's going to be all over the ESPN family and network. So that'll be the second week of the season, February 16th through the 19th, I believe, in 2023. Yep, February 16th through the 19th, 2023. It's the now Tax Act Clearwater Invitational presented by Evo Shield. You're doing well as a tournament when you have two sponsors for the tournament on that. So that's the big news that came out this week as well in the softball end, as well as, talking about the Manny Bejarano deal. And, of course, UCF, the college softball season came to an end on Thursday night with Oklahoma winning the national title, sweeping Texas, beating them 10-5 in Game 2, winning Game 1 16-1. Oklahoma's going to go down as maybe the greatest softball team we've ever seen in 2022 and one of the great college teams of all time. And I tweeted this out on Thursday night as it was wrapping up. UCF softball season at the end ran into maybe the greatest softball team and one of the greatest teams ever in the Super Regionals. That's what prevented them from getting to the Women's College World Series. If you put UCF in any other draw in that Super Regional, they are likely in Oklahoma City. I think this was a World Series, and that was my takeaway. If you look at the teams, UCF fared well against Oklahoma compared to some of the other teams. They were more competitive than Texas was in the championship series. They were more competitive than Northwestern was against Oklahoma, who Oklahoma run-ruled them. UCLA got a game from them, but then got run-ruled by them 15-0. So I think UCF represented themselves very well in the Super Regionals. And, I've gotten text messages from people that, hey, man, this team is really good. Like, they should be OKC good and things like that. Now, on Thursday night, I host an In the Circle pregame live show on In the Circle YouTube channel to preview the Texas-Oklahoma game. And I had head coach Cindy Ball-Malone on to preview Texas-Oklahoma because UCF had played both teams. I encourage you to check that interview out on our YouTube channel at In the Circle SB there. We went in depth. She kind of gave us a detail. Her scouting report on OU and Texas was really some good stuff. I'm going to air an excerpt of that right now where we talk about UCF and if her reflection on the season a little bit and kind of the respect that UCF got from some of the national media in softball and people including in Oklahoma. Here's an excerpt from my interview with Cindy Ball-Malone from the pregame show on In the Circle.
Here on In the Circle Live. Here's a Sooner fan. Jesse James chimes in. UCF number 2, in my opinion, boomer. I put that out because I've had a lot of OU fans and media people. Joey Helmer was on with us a couple of nights ago. And I've had media people in OKC text me how they were impressed seeing your team live in Norman, handling those circumstances, which I wasn't expecting because I figured, hey, they win, they're just going to move on. But a lot of people said, this team really is better than some of these teams that we're seeing right now in Oklahoma City. And, look, they kind of point to some of the scores. I know you weren't, you wish you could have done some things differently as far as your team playing better. But now that you have some time to reflect and you've watched how this has unfolded, what's your kind of perspective now
having played Oklahoma and really gaining a lot of respect from a lot of people. Like I said, OU media and fans have really complimented your team since.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that we just learned so much. Like, we wouldn't have learned those moments if we hadn't been in that situation. And so I thank you, because obviously, we have pride and we think the same thing, Jesse James 94, but but again, we want to play the best. We want it to be a traditional thing. And so I really love hearing how our women are talking right now. We're still connected. A lot of people are staying around here and training, and just hearing the things that they're saying. They've matured in postseason already, and just hearing their observations, and they're able to say, they did that, I did that, I know what that feels like. And so they're going to have those pieces coming into it next year. And our goal is to, and they're saying it, their goal is to be in the top 8, so we get to see Oklahoma at the World Series.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm a player right now and I'm looking at this, they're like, we're easily could be at OKC. We're as good as we beat Texas, right? Like, yeah. You see, I think that's, to me, if I'm a player, I'm getting ready for next season. That's got to be a confidence booster that you're right there in the mix, and that now people are starting to see that. I mean, a lot of people watch that regional against Michigan, the Supers against OU in the Super Regional. So I think a lot of people are opening eyes to the program now.
Oh, absolutely. And, they asked me this question on my in-game interview about, getting a little chippy. And I mean, I take it as a compliment when both teams are getting competitive and really competitive in a game. That's respect. I see it as respect, because that this team, can play. And not many teams do that against Oklahoma, especially in game 2. Game 2 is usually, a blowout. But again, I think Texas has those tools, and I think, they can bring it. And I think it'll be great for softball and for all the viewers. Either way, we're going to see a lot of fun stuff tonight.
Well, let's hope. We're hoping. we need a good game on that. I want to ask about your team here, because obviously from a national standpoint, you've had time to think. An incredible year. As I mentioned, you win the conference regular season tournament title. You host the regional for the first time. You win the regional. You beat Michigan, a great team there. Get to the Supers the first time. I know you've had more time to think about it, but what pops in your mind when I say all that, now that you've had some time to think about it? And really a lot of the appreciation from Knight Nation, UCF fans have been jumping on this. I've mentioned the OU fans, a lot of people. I mean, this is a historic year for this team that I think its impact is going to continue for years and years, right?
Yeah, no, there's so many thoughts, and I'm still emotional about it. I haven't debriefed enough. I get it was a special time, and there's so many special moments, like to be able to be on the field with Coach Hutch, and like for her to tell me your team is good and you're doing a good job. And, I've looked up to her. At one point I wanted to play for her. And then for Coach Gasso, same thing, for her to say your team is really good. I mean, she doesn't have to say that to me. She's the best coach out there right now, and her team is showing that. And so it makes me feel good, because we can have a plan. We can have the best coaching staff. And I believe we have one very good coaching staff here in all of our coaches and staff members. But again, our women buy in and believe in it, and they follow and they do it. And I think proudest moments, alumni being really excited about our program, being able to run out to the team and celebrate, and our alumni being able to be at Super Regionals cheering their team on. Our goal is to get them to act ridiculous in the front row behind our dugout in Oklahoma City. And I'll keep saying that until we make it happen. So, in this team, like our mantra was what's possible with an exclamation point, not a question mark. And I think they definitely put another exclamation point on that, what's possible, because they did everything and then some. I'm
curious, you've talked about what your players learned from the experience of making this run.
I'm curious what you look, because I know I've gotten to know you now. You're a student of the game. You're one that'll take notes. You're one that'll ask coaches for opinions and thoughts. Because I kind of forget this. I feel like you're still a young coach. Like, you're still kind of young. I mean, you really are. Like, I think it's kind of remarkable what you've done to this point. Gianna Mancha, I interviewed earlier today, reminded me of that. So I'm just kind of curious what you have learned, either from the super regional, seeing OU up close, and obviously what Coach Gasson does, or just this whole run in general. What do you think you've learned about yourself?
Gosh.
It's a very deep question, I know.
Yeah, no, because there's so many angles you could go on with that. But about myself, I mean, I talk about, the alumni and all of that, but my entire, like, my family, my husband, my kids, my parents all got to be at super regionals. And what I learned, I mean, I preach this to our team, that you can be a mom, you can be a woman, you can be a really kick butt woman and do some things. And you don't have to have every resource to get it done. Like the blue collar athlete and the way we're doing it. I felt strongly about how we build our culture and the people in it. And that's what I think I learned, like just being able to have all that experience and see it. I learned that the moments are what's really incredible, and the people. And I learned that this very young team exceeded potential because of the relationships, the team chemistry. Like, we coached culture the entire year and we didn't stop. Now, my competitive self, Elo, and you didn't ask it, but I'm going to say it. My competitive self learned, I mean, my next question is, okay, how are we going to look like Oklahoma? What do we need to do? We've got the strength coach in here. We've got, how do we look like? We've got 5 schools that we're going to reach out to and research, and like, how do we get there? Because they look different, they move different, they do all of that stuff. And so we're already working on those pieces, and our team, our players are bought in. They're all about it. Like, it's just cool. Our administration is watching the game. I have like people telling me like, yeah, I watched the game last night, and like, all the commentating. And I mean, and I don't think that we would have had those conversations, a month or 2 ago, that so many people are watching softball now and fans of softball and admitting it. They're okay to admit it now too.
Yeah, it's the hit thing to do. I mean, we were pardon the interruptions, talking about it, Around the Horns talking about it. So it's a good thing. A couple quick hits before we let you go, because I know where you're at. I've been there many a time, and we're going to let you go so you can go back home. You got people waiting for you, and you want to watch the game. But I'm curious, when you watch the World Series games and you see Mendoza in the booth, what goes into your mind, and are you texting her during the game? I've always been curious about that.
I do text her time to time. Well, excuse me. My first thing is like super proud. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of her. She's amazing. She's a rock star, man. Like, she's an incredible athlete, but what she does so well. She's good at what she does. She knows the information. She's knowledgeable. But not only that, like, she is not afraid to show her passion, just her passion for the game, her passion for different people's artistic ways of being able to play this game. And, she allows herself to be vulnerable and like just show her true self. And you can't, like, there's no way you can't love that. Right. I mean, she brings that energy. And then I go back to the times where, we were goofball 14-year-olds freshman year. She was my catcher, and like, I don't know how well and how much stuff we got done in that bullpen. I don't know how well those bullpens were, but we were competitive on the field. But I mean, we were probably a coach's dream on the field and a coach's nightmare, because we were just goofballs, like pranksters, all of that stuff, and all in positive ways and team chemistry. But I go back to those moments, and, we'll text from time to time, and she'll give me like, I remember one year she was talking about a freshman. It had to have been, did Escobedo win as a freshman? Had to be one of those years.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And she talked about, freshmen winning it and being in the game. And this might be one of the first times. And I text her, I was like, hey, Amanda Freed. And she put it out there and she said, isn't that fun? And I was like, yeah, I feel like I had some input, and she made me feel super special. And so, I mean, she's just, she is a huge advocate and just promoter of so many things. And, you know, people talk about her and like, you know, Jessica Mendoza, but she'll never act like that. And that's the coolest thing about her, is she's the most down to earth human being.
Well, you know, she was on our podcast recently, and she agreed to the podcast. You two are on at the same time. So yes. It's up to you. You know, now you both have crazy schedules. So it's up to two of you to schedule this. But you both have the because you're about to go with Team USA this summer. I know you're getting ready for that next week, which will be exciting for you. But yeah, that's going to happen at some point. The two of you on the same podcast and share some of those stories, because I have a feeling you both have a lot of stories. That's what she kind of teased me off the air. She said, yeah, just be warned, we've got a lot of stories. I'm like, hey, it's a podcast. We can go forever. Probably
too many. Yeah, but no, I'm excited. I mean, we've got 5 athletes, you know, on the field today that we're going to be able to work with this summer. And so I just feel like, you know, they might feel blessed to be a part of it. I'm like, I'm going to get to go learn so much and just be around, you know, these cool athletes and women, and be able to come back and share it with our group here. So, you know, I'm excited. It's fun.
This up, and this will be the last question. Gianna Mancha is going to play pro. I just had her on. She mentioned that you're a big part of that in her career, and that, you know, with the influence you've had, obviously, which goes well documented. We've talked about that at length, but kind of your reaction to her as she's about, you know, I interviewed her right as she got off practice in Vieira there. She's getting ready to go to play next week. What's it like for you to see her now pursuing this pro ball career?
It's just, it's so rewarding as a coach, you know? I mean, just to be able to see her living out her dreams, because there's days that I see her as that little freshman that got her first start against Tennessee and Megan Greer, you know, like hitting a bomb off of her, right? And she looked at me, I'm like, keep going, you're good, you know? And then I keep reminding myself, no, she's a top-notch pitcher in this game. And what I think is really cool is she's starting to, you know, really put the pedal to the metal and learn her body. And this is where, about this age is where you really figure some things out, and she's doing it. And so I love that she's going to continue to keep playing. I'm going to encourage her to keep playing as long as she can, because she's got it. She's got it all. I mean, the full package. I'm just so proud of her. I asked her, you know, I tried to joke with her and say, like, hey, NCAA put a waiver out. You've got a 6 year. You ready to come back? And she looked at me funny and was like, don't answer that, because I'll get my feelings hurt if you answered in a different way. But but yeah, I just hugging her. I said this before, I did not want to let go, because it's not goodbye. I'm gonna get to be her friend now. And her mom actually sent me one of the best notes. And I mean, this is a family thing, right? And so, and she said, you just went from coach to friend. And so I'm super excited to see this part of her life and be her biggest fan and have her come back and teach me some things now.
All right, there was the excerpt from my interview with Cindy Ball-Malone on Thursday night on the In the Circle special prior to the Oklahoma-Texas game, talking about some many topics. If you want to watch the full interview, go to the YouTube channel In the Circle SB for that interview. Of course, you heard Gianna Mancha there. I referenced the interview coming up on the Black Gold Banneret Podcast, my interview with Gianna Mancha. I talked to her on Thursday, talking about really literally as she get on finishing practice. We will reflect on her great career at UCF, plus obviously this opportunity to play professionally and the possibility of her playing with Jocelyn Allo of Oklahoma. That's all coming up. Then later, we'll play Bryson Turner's interview with UCF track and field head coach Dana Boone as UCF track and field in the outdoors, the NCAA championships in Eugene. That's all coming up on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. One quick note, shout out to Johnny Travali, UCF golfer who's playing in the PGA Tour this weekend in the Canadian Open. He went 6 over on Thursday. Probably going to miss the cut, but pretty cool experience for him to be playing on the PGA Tour, at least for a couple of rounds in the Canadian Open for him. So we wish him well on that. All right, coming up, my interview with Gianna Mancha. When we return, this is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Welcome back here to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Joining us now, of course, one of the greats of UCF Knights Softball, just fresh off, leading the Knights to their first ever super regional trip. Now playing professionally with the Smash It Sports Vipers of the WPF. She was the 5th pick in their draft, which we'll talk about. That came out while she was shutting out Villanova in the Orlando Regional. Speaking of Gianna Mancha, who joins us from the field as she just finished a practice. That's a first here on the show. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited. Enjoying this nice Florida weather.
Yes, with rain and sun and everything, a little bit of everything. You just concluded as we're recording this on Thursday. You just finished the practice. You just signed to play on the WPF. Let's just talk about that first. Tell the audience about that process of you deciding to play pro. You were the 5th pick in the WPF draft, literally the night that you pitched the shutout against Villanova, which was wild. But what kind of led me talk about this process? What led you to make this decision? You're going to be playing this year.
Yeah. I didn't really know about the WPF, but it was exciting to find out that, they were going to put this on and kind of just like restarted, I guess, from it's not the NPF, it's not AU, stuff like that. So it's kind of new and it's awesome to be a part of something like this. And, Lauren Chamberlain as the commissioner, got to talk to her, and then Dawn and everyone. So, it's awesome. I didn't really have to, sit there and make a hard decision, obviously I didn't know if pros was in the books for me, but I think it's awesome that I get this opportunity and that, it found me obviously this last year with UCF. So it's just awesome. And, to be here and kind of feel it out and, kind of see what they've done. Like some of the girls that are here, some of them played for AU, some of them played in the NPF, some of them played with the Pride. So it's awesome just to, get this experience. And it's only for 3 months, but just to be here with all these girls and all these amazing names, it's awesome.
Do you remember the first time you heard, you found out, I'm trying to remember, how did you, I'm sure you were found out right after the Villanova game when you got picked fit. Just take me through that process and when you first heard from them and kind of what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I was actually sitting at a restaurant with my parents and my brother after the game. We were all excited, and then I got this notification on Instagram, and it said I was drafted or whatever. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. Didn't really know about it. Coach Barry mentioned it right after the game, but I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't really think anything of it. So it was cool when it came out. My parents and everyone was like, oh my gosh. And I was just like, oh, well, we have a game tomorrow. So it wasn't I didn't really react that much until afterward and after the season was over. So, it's so awesome, I think. And just to experience this entire league is what I'm looking forward to, and just having fun again. Not that college wasn't fun, just it's a different type of atmosphere, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself going into it. These are some of the greatest names that we're going to play. So I'm just excited to experience it, honestly, and with all these amazing women.
You're going to wear, now, Knight fans, I want to know this. Are you wearing 8? Are you going to wear 8?
I am, yeah.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, that's good. And there will be merchandise too, where people can buy your jersey, buy your gear, right? Be part of it too, that's cool. You're joining a list of UCF greats like Stephanie Best, Allison Kimes, Shelby Turner, played in the NPF, won an NPF title, Kaylee Novak. What does that mean to you to continue that tradition of UCF softball players to go on to play some pro ball?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome, to be a part of some of those great names that came through UCF. It's a blessing. It's an honor just to be, a part of something that they were a part of like this. So it's awesome.
Are you treating this year by year? Hey, let's see how this goes. Because I know when we talked during the season, you've had plans, and we'll get into that about your future plans here after softball. But obviously you weren't expecting this necessarily at the time, I'm sure. Is this stuff, how do you treat this? Do you go year by year? You see how the experience goes and go from there?
Yeah, definitely. Wasn't expecting it. Obviously had plans, like things set in the works for after we finished. But I wanted to be able to experience this. And, everyone was telling me, just do it. Like just have fun. Like you don't have school, like you're literally just playing softball. And so, I was like, okay. So, I mean, it's fun right now. It's fun already. So I'm excited for the next 3 months.
Who are some of the teammates you're looking forward to playing with there for people that may not know?
Oh, I mean, all of them, Amber Pfizer, Taryn Alvello, Shelby Senseri, Sierra Bryan, Morgan Howe. I'm trying to like name off everyone that's on the team. I mean, just some of the greatest players from everywhere. So it's awesome to get to learn from them and, just to be on the field with them. And so fingers crossed that Jocelyn Allo comes here. We did draft her. We're waiting to hear back from her. And then Mary from Texas is coming. So, I mean, it's just awesome.
You know me well enough now where you know where I'm going with the next question, because I was going to ask you about Jocelyn. She was the number 1 pick in that league, in the WPF. Obviously, she was also drafted in the Athletes Unlimited, which obviously are the 2 pro leagues. They kind of conflict. She hasn't decided what she's going to do yet. She is tight with Lauren Chamberlain, who's the commissioner. But I'm curious, what would that be like if you did play with Jocelyn, who you got to face your last weekend at UCF in the Supers? That'd be kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, Jocelyn is doing some things for this entire sport. I think that is just, I mean, she's taking it to the next level. So, hearing what she's been doing over at Oklahoma, and I think just to like see what she does, like out of like a different perspective than just from throwing to her. I mean, I think that would be awesome, to have her here. And one of the girls actually she's her cousin. So I don't know anything if she's for sure coming here. She obviously hasn't made a decision. But it would be real awesome, just to get to talk to her and, know her mindset. I mean, she's like the Babe Ruth of our league right now. So it's awesome.
You've had some time to reflect since your last game at UCF, obviously in the Supers against Alo in Oklahoma. First of all, I'm sure you've watched the World Series as we've taped. You see what Alo in Oklahoma has done. What goes to your mind when you see Oklahoma kind of put up those video game numbers they've been putting up in the World Series? I got to feel like, do you feel sense of pride? Because you pushed them. You pushed them in the Supers. I know it wasn't the result you wanted, but compared to how other teams have fared, I think you and came on. We fared better than a lot of teams have fared against Oklahoma.
Yeah, seeing that, we kind of talked about it a little bit. We were like, well, dang, we didn't get run ruled by a lot. So I think we kind of patted ourselves on the back a little bit for that. And obviously like our defense behind us and the pitch calling. So it was awesome, like to see that we were able to do that and keep them, they didn't run rule us the second game. And so I don't know. I think it's cool to be able to say that we didn't get, double digit run ruled by Oklahoma.
Right. And my thing is, if we play anybody else other than Oklahoma in the Supers, we're probably in Oklahoma City at the Women's College World Series. I think that's the big takeaway is the only reason we didn't get to the Women's College World Series because we ran into Oklahoma before everybody else did in OKC.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like any other, super regional, I think we would have had a better chance. And I think that happens to us a lot. Obviously, the past 3 years, I think we've either had a regional, we've had a regional against whoever's in the championship, national championship game. So it's pretty awesome, though.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you mentioned the regional, Florida State you're talking about from last year who ended up playing for the Champ Series. You're right. We seem to be running into teams that end up playing for the national title or winning the national title, whatever. It's a tough draw there. Have you had time to reflect on your UCF career and what you accomplished?
Sorry, I lost you right there.
Have you had a chance to reflect on your UCF career?
A little bit. It's kind of hard to, I wish I would have been there all, my entire career. But I'm very thankful for the journey that I've been through, obviously. And with Coach Bear right there, and having her, not having her for a year was hard. So I'm glad I followed her over here to Florida. I mean, the program she built at UCF, I think, has just come such a long way. And, everyone coming into our future Knights, I mean, they're amazing. And then just to be a part of the alumni base too, I mean, it'll be awesome. Having them at our regional was, they were right there. They felt like they were in our dugout with us. So that was cool. But I mean, everything about UCF is amazing. I'm very thankful for being there and getting a chance and an opportunity there. I love it. So, and I definitely will be back. So
I would assume one of your favorite moments, obviously, at UCF time, is that winning that regional. What went through your mind when that last out was made? Macario made the catch, and you're all racing to the field there celebrating, and then the alumni join you.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the end of the dugout with Demaria, and I didn't even know she caught it because I couldn't see. But I was like, "Oh, okay, we got the third out," and we just ran out there. That was an awesome feeling, and then to see our alumni and obviously all of our families in the stands. The first regional there, it's awesome, to feel that and get to experience that. And so I hope the girls, I think our senior class left the program a lot better than we found it, and I hope they do the same.
Well, and that was a goal that you guys had since the fall, to host a regional. It was all because they took away you hosting the conference tournament. What did it mean to accomplish that goal? I was with you there at the watch party. It was intense, but I'll never forget that huge roar when the name came out. You're hosting. That was huge. that was a goal you set out.
Yeah, definitely. It was super upsetting getting the conference tournament taken away from us. It was out of our hands at that point, and it was pretty frustrating. And when we found out about it, we were like, well, they can't take a regional away from us. So, that was our goal from the beginning of fall when we found out about not being able to host the conference tournament. So, we just were going through checking things off the list. So, it was awesome.
Yeah, you crossed a lot of things off the list there and broke a lot of barriers that I think will help future UCF teams there. What is it about Coach Ball-Malone that makes her so special? What is it about her, and I'm sure you've talked to the current pitchers on the staff and and I'm sure future pitchers that'll come. What is it about her that makes her unique? Because you two obviously go way back.
Yeah, I think it's just the culture that she brings to the entire program, and getting everyone to follow along with it. The team 21 was, I've never been with a team that's gotten along so well and just trusted everything that our coaching staff was saying. And I think she just brings just so much to the table, and how she can turn a program around in 2 to 3 years, I think, is awesome. And she's going to respect you if you respect her. She's just an amazing coach, I think. And I know this year she was in the bullpen a lot, and I told her I wanted her in there. And I think she, helped our staff entirely being in there as much as she was, and letting, Coach Witt, Coach Tyler, Coach Kaya work with everyone else and, give her input here and there, and not spreading herself so thin, how I felt like she did the past couple of years. So getting her to just be her, she's awesome in so many ways, especially off the field. She's a great mentor to all of us. So.
Well, and that's the thing. You two have a special bond, and Justine Molina for that matter, because you two go way back, going back to the Boise State. And obviously, she recruited you, when you were young, that you could have that open dialogue, right? In a lot of ways, you are like family.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Well, I'm saying you two have that great family bond, like a relationship, because you've known each other so long. You are like part of family.
Oh, yeah. And she said that to us when we first got there. It was like, when you guys finally came, it felt like home. And so, it felt like that for us too. It was awesome just to be back in her presence and to be within her culture again, and what she can give to a team. It's just so much more structure comfortable being around her, and I know Jay does too. Coming into, is that she cares. You're not just a number there. Like she cares about you.
No doubt. A couple quick things. Let me ask you about you got to play with Aaliyah White, who set so many records. And I remember you said during the season you wanted to win a conference championship for her because she was on the coaching staff. And then Kamo Woodall coming in, and Kamo said that you told her after the Georgia win that, hey, get used to this. We're going to win a lot of games together. That meant a lot to her from a confidence standpoint and just being a part of it. Just talk about the two of them, because you and Aaliyah and you and Kamo were just tremendous 1-2 punch. Why did it work so well?
I think because we were so different, me and Kamo. Kamo and Aaliyah are kind of similar in a way. They're both like that rah, like, and I love that about them, like they bring the hype. I'm more like, okay, let's just go hit type of person. But I think just being able, to work together, even as a staff, this year and last year, and then having them like Aaliyah was a leader in my, like, I looked up to her. I looked up to Kama as well, even though we were in the same, age group or whatever. But I was just blessed with having them right there with me and going through the same things that I was going through. And just being able to talk to them about so many different things, talking about game plans, talking about hitters, just what we had so much in common, but we're very different on the mound. So I think that's why we clicked. And I mean, it was just awesome to be able to throw with them on a staff like that. So,
how do you want to be remembered from Knight fans? When Knight fans are listening to this, how do you want to be remembered?
I would say, just like someone who absolutely loved the game and respected it. And I was that cool, calm, type of person on the mound. But, in the dugout, I would get crazy with, all the girls, have fun. But just, I hope that, they remember me as just someone who was very competitive, but loved the game and, just wanted to be out there and live in the moment.
Speak to Knight Nation and the support that you've been 22nd this year in attendance in the country. The regional crowd was wild. The alumni, I mean, I never saw Kira Clarkowski act as crazy as she did, leading some of the cheers. What was that experience like to have that support from the fan base?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was amazing. It felt like we were in the bounce house almost. Like we were at a football game. It was awesome, and knowing that, I think that helped us too, going to Oklahoma. It didn't feel so, I guess, intense, because I was like, we just came from this, our fans were just as hyped, they were just invested in us. And I mean, I hope that they can keep that going, and not just for a regional. I hope, they get that same fan base every series, every game, every tournament that we have. I mean, because it helps us so much, and we feel all that support when we're out there on the field, and we use it to our advantage.
Yeah, I think they picked up a lot of fans, really picked up throughout the season, and a lot of media picked it up. I mean, you had to talk to so many media people probably. What was that like? Because all of a sudden you have local news coming to talk to you and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a different experience, and we kind of talked about that as a team is don't make it so big. We see all of these people coming around wanting to talk to us, and we just got to keep it simple and just remember, what we're.
No doubt about that. Last question before I let you go here. Whenever your softball career is done, I know you talked about getting involved in baseball. Is that still the plan?
Yes, that is still the plan. Moving to Arizona, and then, calling who I need to call to, assist for him in scouting, and then get into all of the analytics of baseball.
Love that. I love it. What did it mean to have your brother watch you play in person at UCF? Because I know that's not easy, because he plays baseball. And I'm not going to get into it, but I know there was competition on the family member who's watching what and all that. But he actually got to, I believe, is it the first time he saw you at UCF in person? Because I know he's seen you in person play, but not at UCF, as I understand. Is that accurate?
You're gonna make me get emotional. Yes, it is accurate. It was his first time being able to watch me in Orlando, and so he was just so excited, and it was fun. He gets crazy at the game, starts yelling at the umpire. But I mean, it was so cool, to have him there, because we never, ever since I started, I don't think we've ever been able to go and watch each other for the past 5 years. So him being there was just everything that I could ask for. And then, now I get to go and watch him and hopefully scout him to an MLB team.
Oh, I'm not going to get you in trouble, so I won't ask you how you would scout him. But I did meet him. I remember I ran into him at that regional. I'm like, oh, hey, you're here. It was like, oh, snap. Because I've heard all the stories, and we'll keep it between us and the family. I know it's pretty competitive as far as who's watching who, because you both play at the same time. I mean, he plays college baseball over in the San Francisco area, and you're playing, so it's hard. But it's an awesome story, and I'm sure you both have helped each other, right? With because you're both going through similar things as athletes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and I've talked to him a lot about just the experiences that he's going to go through his entire career, and baseball takes so much longer to the of it, and so he'll develop later as he gets older and gets bigger. So I'm excited to see him and him grow and just love the game so much more. And it is a competition of who's getting the big TV and who's getting on the phone, but now there's no competition. So
hey, look, I was on I was on your side. I told the families, like, hey, don't forget, I need the clicks too of my broadcast. So I mean, come on now. I mean, let's can we get multiple phones? I don't know. However, whatever. They figured it out. More importantly, though, now they better make sure you watch you play pro, and that's what's going to be exciting. You're going to be playing in the WPF this year, including in Florida, I believe, at times too throughout the season at Vieira. So, gee, I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you get this opportunity. I'm going to try to see you in person play because, I've enjoyed that over the last few years. So, thank you for taking the time. It's been a pleasure, covering your games, and good luck this year. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Eli. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Of course, a big week out west for UCF track and field. Of course, a big year for Dana Boone and program, winning the Indoor American Conference Championships as well as the Outdoor Championships. They'll have 7 Knights plus an alternate out in Eugene this week, participating in 5 events. To put that in perspective, the last 4 times that a UCF track and field team had traveled to the NCAA Outdoor Championships had been competing in either 1 or 2 events. It's one of the deepest rosters and success that UCF track and fields had. And of course, a big part of that is head coach Dana Boone, who spoke to our very own Bryson Turner last week prior to going to Eugene, Oregon, to talk about what to look for in Eugene and the success of UCF track and field. Here is head coach Dana Boone.
I think everyone's excited. It's always fun when there's a group going. Last year we just had 2 individuals, and so we have a small group going this year. So it's a little bit more fun at practice because we have a lot more people training and stuff. So.
Yeah, 7 athletes compared to Renaya and Ashera last year. How has it felt for Renaya and Ashera to be heading back there for the 2nd straight season and in their sophomore season at that?
Obviously they're very excited. That was the goal when they left there last year, to come back, but to come back with some more people. So all of those things have happened, but definitely excited. And it's like I said, it's always more fun when you have more of your teammates with you.
So you have Renaya now also competing in the 4x100 meter relay. Obviously, she was just in the hurdles last season. So how would you say her improvement has been as a sprinter to have this opportunity with the relay team?
Well, she's always been a great sprinter. I mean, last year at the conference meet, she did the 100 hurdles, the 100, the 200, and obviously indoor she did the 60 and 60 200 and hurdle combination. So we know she's a sprinter, but because she can do so many things, you don't want to always wear her out and everything. So once she decided not to run the 100 this year, it was kind of like, hey, how about let's do the relay instead? And so that definitely worked out for the benefit of the relay. So I'm glad we were able to make that happen this year.
Yeah, I noticed that some of the athletes could qualify for multiple events, but only Selena Wright did so in the 4x100 relay team, but Selena Wright did so individually. So what went into the decisions of which events the athletes decided to compete in?
Oh, well, just because Selena finished 13th, so she just missed making it.
No, in the prelim, did you?
Oh, in the prelims. Well, all of them actually did qualify for individual events. And so it kind of was a thing where you look at the list and kind of say, hey, what's your best shot to make it to go to Eugene? And so some of the girls were like, hey, I'd rather just go fresh with the relay. And some were like, hey, I'm going to do one event instead of the two events that I qualified in, so maybe they did an individual event and the relay versus where they might have qualified in the 100, 200 and the relay. Instead of doing all three of those, we just did two of those. So at the end of the day, it's always about what's best for the team and the individual. But if we didn't feel like they had a shot individually to make it, then we put a little more emphasis on the relays.
So you have Brittany Floyd, of course, getting selected for the heptathlon. She transferred here from UAB. What was it like to recruit her over here to UCF, and what has she been like here for this team?
I'll give all the credit to my assistant coach, Glenn Smith. He recruited her and found her and signed her and coached her. So he's done a phenomenal job in developing her and getting her to this point. For the team, it's been awesome. I mean, we haven't had a heptathlete here in a while, and she came in and just basically rewrote all the record books. So it's been awesome to have her, and you love when a kid can come in and make such an impact in a year. She only had a year of eligibility, and she's made a huge difference to our team. So we're thankful that she chose us, and we're glad she's having a spectacular last year.
You talk about Coach Glenn Smith. Of course, he brings back Ashara Collins to Eugene, and now you have Adrian Adams and Brittany Floyd heading there as well. You guys have won both coaching staffs of the year awards, if I'm not mistaken, from the American Conference meets. So what has it been? What is the impact he's had on this coaching staff this season?
He's definitely done what I hoped he would do coming in. Sometimes it's very hard to find a coach that can coach as many events as he does. He basically coaches all the field events, so that's the throwing, the jumping, everything. And if we had a vaulter, he would coach that too. But and he's very good at what he does, so he's doing his job. So his impact has been great. But my whole staff brings things to the table, and I know we wouldn't be as successful without all of them. So
now you will have a group of 7 athletes heading to Eugene, with comprising of the individual athletes, the 4x100 relay team. You also had several athletes who had high marks but might not be going to Eugene. Charlotte Crook, of course, set the new school record for the 1500 meter just by falling just short. And Latasha Smith has had a good season despite not starting in the 400 meters. Are you able to give an update on Latasha, and then just about the impact both Charlotte and Latasha have had on this team this season?
Charlotte's had a phenomenal season. She's set several records this year, and she's definitely progressed in the right manner. Obviously, the East preliminary rounds is a little bit deeper than it might have been in the West. She probably would have made the next round at least in the West, looking at the results. But she's done a great job, and she's developed. She's come a long way since her freshman year, and those are the things that you want for your athletes. So that's been great. Latasha Smith had a breakout year this year. She finally is doing all the things that you believe that she could do. It's just unfortunate that leading up to the NCAA preliminary rounds that my 400 group took ill, and it wasn't even COVID or anything. We had some pneumonia, mono, bronchitis, all of those things happened within 48 hours of leaving. So we didn't get to run our 4x4, which I believe would have made it, and also into our 3 individuals that made it in the 400 group. So we're still not going as a fully loaded team that I think we're capable of going, but those young ladies, and with Latasha leading the way, have done a great job this season.
Well, your full group did set an American Athletic Conference meet record. You managed to take both in-conference meets for the first time since 2013. So talk about what that means for you guys for this program.
Well, when you take over a program and you start talking about winning and you have a team that doesn't quite know what that means, it takes time to build a culture, that's what this is come to. It's been a culmination of just slowly plugging away and getting better and learning how to compete and learning. The outdoor championship was probably a little bit more challenging than the indoor championship because, if you listen to the broadcast indoors, we were the underdog. We weren't even mentioned in the team title. Now, we knew on paper, we knew that we were going to be in the battle for the title, that we're going to be one of the top two, so we went in there as the underdog and just, had fun with it. But outdoor is a little bit different when the expectation is there. So, we had some little falters here and there, but the team bounced back and they handled the business. So that showed me that they're starting to learn to understand what it takes, because it's hard to be on top and then stay on top, so because everybody, now you have a target on your back.
Very true. So Renaya Jones making her way back to Eugene. Obviously, she made the mark there last season. So what do you think we could see out of her at Eugene this time around? I don't have any expectations. What I want to see Renaya do is just trust herself and get out there and compete to the best of her ability. I think that's one of her gifts, is her ability to compete and rise to the occasion, especially at the seems to be the higher level that she competes at. She gets better and better. So that's the hope and the expectation. I hope that for all of the young ladies competing this weekend. And then you're bringing the 4x100 relay team with you for the first time. So what are you working through with them as you prepare them for Eugene, and what made you decide on this specific layout for them? Because obviously I think I've seen a couple different ones.
Well, first this is our second time going to the NCAA meet since I've been here. We went my first year here to the championship in Austin, and I believe we finished 14th. And so, and then we ran into a COVID year and couldn't compete. And then last year was just a struggle coming off of the COVID year, having not having an outdoor season and just and not having a full indoor season. So we're back to our top of our stride here, and that's part of my job as a coach, is to figure out what combination is going to be the right combination. So you try all different legs, you make sure everyone can give a stick and take a stick, and then you just try different combinations. I've had Asia on first, and then I moved her to anchor, and but my two middle people have always stayed the same because they've been passing that stick to each other for a long time. So it works, the timing's perfect, so why mess with it? So it's just been a matter of just trying different anchor legs and different first legs and stuff. But I knew ultimately I was going to put Renaya back on first leg once the season settled down, because she has a great start, and hurdlers typically do really well running on a curve, so it just made sense.
And then my last question for you is, you have a very unique group. You have kids that have been to Eugene.
Yes.
You have been kids that have been, Sierra and Beyonce were both on that 4x1 in 2019. Mm-hmm. They didn't go to Eugene, they went to Austin. Mm-hmm. You also have Adrian and Asia who haven't been.
Correct.
What's your message to them going to Eugene this week?
Treat it just like any other meet. That's what we have to do. The preparation is the same, and the message is very clear. I told that relay we need to be in the finals. And then if we make the finals, we can't be ninth, because we got to put some points on the board. So that's the expectation. We're not trying to go in there. We're not going to make it bigger than what it is and get overwhelmed. We just need to do what we did to get there. And if we do that, we'll be successful. And then that's the big thing that everyone needs to remember, is that you don't treat this meet any differently than any other meet. We still warm up the same. The track's still 400 meters. And we just got to, do what we always do, which is, leave on time and get good sticks.
And thanks again to head coach Dana Boone, for joining us there at Black Gold Banneret Podcast. That was from last week, prior to them leaving for Eugene, Oregon, talking to Bryson Turner. And that last voice you heard was Megan Herboth, who has been the longtime SID at UCF in track and field, women's basketball, cross country, rowing. Used to be a SID at softball in 2015 and 16. I kept that question in because that was the last. Megan Herboth has moved on. She's left UCF after 8 years. And I just wanted to certainly thank her for all the years and great work she's done. Of course, she was the SID at women's basketball. And I really, it was kind of bittersweet to lose her. She's done so many great things and helping us, get guests on over the years with women's basketball and all the sports that she was involved in. So I want to thank Megan Herboth. That we will miss her at UCF. I won't say where she's going. I know where she's going, but I'll let her announce that when if she wants to on that. But she will be missed sorely here at UCF, big time for that. So that gets you set for the outdoor championships. By the way, if you want to hear Bryson Turner's exclusive one-on-one with Renaya Jones, go to our YouTube channel at Black and Gold Banneret. Make sure you subscribe there, like us, to hear Renaya Jones' exclusive interview and her thoughts ahead of her second NCAA championship in Eugene, Oregon, coming up as it's going on right now as we talk. Throughout, which will be on the ESPN family of networks throughout in Oregon, the event events there. Bryson will keep you updated on all the events and results that could be going on as you listen to this episode right now. So that's the game plan there on track and field. One other note before we sign off here on this edition of Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Big news in the women's golf section. Longtime UCF assistant coach moving on. As Steve Sims, who was the right-hand man to Emily Marin and the great success of UCF women's golf, was named the new head coach at UTEP on Thursday. So congrats to him. One of the more underrated assistants in golf. And now he gets to run the UTEP program. And we'll be interested to see what Coach Marin does to replace him on her staff. Of course, women's golf coming off that great NCAA tournament run. So that's the latest news there. Reminder, check out blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest. Follow us at UCF Banneret _SBN. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Black and Gold Banneret. Coming up soon, the Bannies. Jeff will be back from Hawaii, I believe, next week. We'll just start getting ready for some Bannies talk. Who are some of the big awards going on for the UCF The Year in Review? We'll be breaking that down over the next few weeks here on the Black and Gold Banneret, here on the podcast, perhaps on the YouTube channel, as well as on our website, blackandgoldbanneret.com. So for everybody at the Black and Gold Banneret, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.